Hey, good morning, Las Vegas. Welcome back here to Vegas Realty Check, your local Las Vegas real estate news show. And I am Trish Williams.
And I'm Tiana Carroll. Welcome back, Vegas. And if you haven't yet, make sure you like, share, and subscribe and join us on this journey of everything real estate every Thursday morning. If you hit that notification bell, you will be alerted when we go live. So make sure you join the tribe.
Yes, and welcome to October.
Dun, dun,
dun, dun, dun.
Spooky season, spooky season.
Yeah, so last week we had a community spotlight, and
we did.
That's where we interview someone local in the community on what they're doing, what's going on. So if you tuned into that show and you've seen something a little different, that is why. But this week we are back to real estate talk.
All the real estate. And next week will be a big real estate talk because it'll be the market update where we go over everything numbers with real estate in Las Vegas for the previous month, things like days on market. But as always, we begin each episode with our market numbers for Las Vegas, just a little insight into what's going on with our single families, our under contracts, our price decreases, and our solds.
Yep. So, and next week you're going to be here with a guest and not me.
Trish will be off. Trish, you get a vacation.
I'll be on a beach somewhere.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Even though it feels like it's still summer outside. We're having this heat wave, 108 degrees in October.
Yeah.
Usually it's like, down by the high 90s, low 100s by this time of the year, even if we make it into the hundreds. But this is hotter than normal, which is good. I like an extended summer.
Yeah, but
another month of pool. Woo!
Yeah, my favorite tag for the summer this year is what's not hot is our real estate numbers.
Harsh.
Yeah.
Harsh. I guess that's depending upon what you think is hot.
Yeah. So we are lots of fives today, huh?
Lots of fives today, indeed.
Yeah. So let's start with single family inventory. How many single family homes do we have on the market?
We have 5,323 homes on the market available, and that's across all price points in the valley.
Yes, that's a lot, and that's single family homes only. And then under contract, we're at 538.
Yes. That's a pretty good number for under contract.
I think we were in the 300s last week, right?
Yeah, considering. So it's bumped up a bit, which is nice. The solds are also a 5. How much are those?
552. A little bit up from last week.
Tiny bit
that's
up.
Doing a little bit better than last week. And
yeah, you know what is also up from last week?
The price decreases.
So
no fives there.
No fives there, right? That's 741 price decreases this week.
Yes.
And that number is going up each and every week.
And you know what's also in the fives this week?
I do. And this is the big news.
Yeah. So FHA mortgage loans are hovering around those fives. So this morning it looks like around 5.78. Those numbers can change. Definitely talk to the lender for confirmation. Depends on the day you lock your rate. All of that good stuff. The conventionals are still in the 6s, but 15-year fixed is 5.63 this morning. So
nice. I know.
That's
it's
a
so
little
good.
bit better.
It is so good.
So I like seeing those rates in the 5s. I'm hopeful that we're going to see them in the 4s, but we'll see.
We'll see
what happens.
Just coming down to the 5s feels a lot more normal, and it changes the monthly payment so much that it's giving people affordability. So if you thought you couldn't buy a house before, or you tried and it was just going to be too high of a payment with that interest rates in those 6s and 7s, then it might be time to reconnect with your lender and see where you are now. Just do a soft poll and see kind of what they can do for you.
Yeah, and there's alternative, there's these other loan programs out there. They're like special programs, and some of them have lower rates than what the regular rate is. I got someone in on it's called the Affordable Home Mortgage Program, which I had just found out about. It wasn't something that was on my radar at all before, but apparently it's out there. Zip code specific, but it's not, it's not even zip code. You have to type in the address and this little tool, and it's based off like the numbers, the population, the census, everything like that, of what qualifies or what doesn't. But a lot of homes in the valley qualify, and that has a lower rate and no MIP, PMI, that private mortgage insurance.
Nice.
And that's gone, and it's a 3% conventional program. So you put only 3% down.
Wow,
And it's
I
not
love all of this.
There's no income qualifications. Not your income that qualifies. So it's the address of the home and the census numbers that make it qualify.
And that's owner occupied without a
owner occupied, no PMI, no MIP, none of that nonsense, and
3% down with no PMI.
3% down, no PMI, and the
That
rates
sounds
are
like a
great.
pretty dang good product, man.
Yeah, our buyers just locked in a 5.2% rate on that program, and that is phenomenal. I was like, wow, best rate I've seen, and I can't believe there's no income restrictions on it. So, and the area that the buyers purchased in here was Centennial here in Las Vegas, so pretty
Great
popular area,
yeah.
but it did qualify by a hair under these the census qualifications that it had. So definitely check out that program. Does have to be owner occupied, does have to, you can't buy it as an investment property, second home, or anything like that with the program. So
Yep.
Definitely if you want more information on that, I was super excited to see that program. And
Yeah, that's really exciting. One of the lenders that I work a lot with just changed companies, and they've opened so many more products. And I was like, how am I in the business this long? In my eye, there's still surprises in the lender world for me.
Yeah, I think I've heard that total there's over 100 different loan products out there, but
Right.
lenders usually will just talk about the ones that everybody
basics.
uses, the basics. Yeah, but I definitely encourage people to talk to a lender that has options, or talk about what your options are with them, because usually they have access to a lot more than they just tell you off the bat.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things when the lender moved over to the new company. I just keep getting all of these texts and emails, and she's like, "Oh no, now I've got this program that does this, and check this out. And do you have anybody that works with these?" And we've been able to get some really interesting, I want to say creative because they're new to me, but some different types of loans that are working out. But I really like this one.
Yeah, and I guess it's like a national program, because it's the lender that that got our buyers, and he's not even in Las Vegas, but he's licensed in all 50 states.
Good for him.
So yeah, that was super interesting. So
Yep, that is
let's
interesting.
get into
Thanks
our
for
listener.
sharing.
Yes, I was excited about it. Had
I'm
to share.
excited for it.
Yeah, so
good.
let's get into our listener questions out there. So
Our listener questions.
if you've been tuning in to our show for a little while, you've been seeing that all this year we've been talking listener questions, and we are running short on these questions, so please send yours in. And we still have some topics coming up, like Keith, one of our longtime listeners out
Yep,
there.
loyal.
Loyal, longtime listeners. He had requested that we do a show on the history of commissions,
Yes.
and where they started, and what, how the whole system got kind of created, which we're definitely doing some research to dive in to put a show together for you on that. So that
Yep.
is upcoming. We didn't forget about your question,
We
Keith.
didn't forget about it. It looks like it's probably going to be November.
Yeah, it's probably just not a one-liner answer the question on the show. We're going to have to do a whole
We'll
show
be like,
around
in
that.
1816,
Yeah.
Jebediah came up with this idea to sell the ranch. No, we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what we come up with and what we can find on that. So yeah, we're looking at doing that sometime in November. So yeah, just so you know, we're hearing you, we're listening, we're talking about what you're sending us in, and we will get to it.
Yep, we will get to it. And there's a lot of things coming up, like we have the trunk or treat.
Oh, trunk or treat, October 18th. That's going to be in our Green Valley office at 2230
I never remember the corporate circle.
Suite 250. You won't need the suite number. You'll go, you'll see everything. Food trucks, bounce houses, haunted houses, lots of candy, lots of people that participate, candy for the kids. People
It's so
usually
much
go
fun.
all out, lots of fun. We
Yeah.
usually have lots of kids, lots of people attending. It's great. I myself will be in the Wizard of Oz section.
Shocking.
Yeah, if I do the same thing every year, so not fun. And
she's got a standard Halloween costume like a uniform. I'm Glinda.
Yeah, I am Glinda. That's just it. That's my alternative personality.
Just the good witch. I don't know what to tell you.
So you might not recognize me because I'll be blonde, but stop by, say hi. Love to see you. Love to give you candy because I'm going to be giving out candy and
sugar.
Maybe green elixir. I'm still considering that option, but we'll see how that goes. And Tiana,
it'd be, if you did a green elixir like that. What do they do? The 7-Up and the lime sherbet.
Well, they have green Fanta.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's smart. There's no mixing or anything. You could just get bottled.
Yeah, just get bottles of green Fanta and set up a bunch of shot glasses. Kids will have fun with it. So maybe.
Maybe
we'll see.
We don't teach kids how to do shots. I don't know. We haven't decided yet.
Yeah, we'll see how setup goes that day because there's going to be a lot going on that week, and I'm getting back just a few days before it. So it'll be a mad rush, but
it'll be so much fun.
Yeah, but I'm excited. We're going to have a cowardly lion and a scarecrow joining us.
I didn't know that we recruited other people.
We recruited some people. I'm so excited.
I'd be willing to do like donate my metal chin strap from last year because I was the tin woman.
Tin woman, yeah. No, I got 2 volunteers. Looking for more. Hey, if you guys are interested, I'd love to have the help. So then maybe we could put together the green elixir.
Right? You'll be like, you're in charge of shots.
Yeah, but it's a free event. Come out, say hi. We'd love to meet you in person. Our listeners, you want to see us, say hi. We'd love to see you, meet you in person. So come out. That'd be great.
Yep, come out.
Yeah, so
it's a complimentary event. Everything's taken care of. You just show up and have a good time. But you have to pay for the food truck. That's the disclaimer.
Yeah, the food trucks do charge, but very few. A lot of people, most of the things there are free and nothing that you have to pay for. But yeah, if you're ordering from the food trucks, they do charge for that.
Yep.
But let's get into these questions.
We already did the numbers. Lots
let's
of
get
fives
into the
today.
questions.
We're done with the fives.
Yeah, so let's start with Josie.
Josie wants to know, how soon after a home closes do I get the money from the sale of my house? That's a good question because everybody loves money.
Yeah, home sold, I want to get paid. Well, it depends on the title company.
Yep.
So the day that the home closes, and closing is not the time that you sign your paperwork. You'll sign your closing docs. That doesn't mean that it's closed at that time. It closes when the recorder's office records the documents and switches the title.
Right. You become on the new deed.
Yeah. Sometimes that's later on the same day. Sometimes it's a couple days later based off our contract, what the closing date is. That is official closing.
And how busy the recorder's office is.
Yeah. Recorder's office is they're not us, so we have no control over it. We send it over to them. They do, if things are received by 3:30 p.m., they will guarantee that it will record that day sometime.
Sometime that day.
Usually by 5 p.m. I've seen it go over, but they do. They stay. They lock the doors. They stay till everything that's been
I had a
sent
closing
in.
at 6:15 once, and I was shocked. I was like, oh, they really do stay open.
Yeah, they stay overtime.
It's not just a rumor. It's real.
Yeah. So once that recording is official and happens, title company, us, everybody gets recording notification that this is official. It's recorded, finalized, and closed. Once that happens, title company does disbursements.
Yes, they do.
Disbursements is preparing the wires and sending them out to who needs to get paid. Mortgage company gets paid off, any liens, HOA payments are involved. There's, sometimes other stuff, but whatever outgoing payments needs to be done, including the seller's payment.
Yes.
So,
and the fastest way to get that's a wire.
Yeah, fastest way. It depends on how you choose to get paid. So if you choose a check, if you still want a paper check in your hand with your money, you could do that. You don't get cash. You can't choose for
get cash, but they will do a check that you can usually pick up in your closing package, or you can get it wired when disbursements happen.
Yeah, you can pick it up the next day. You could have it overnighted to you, or if you do the wire, sometimes depending on like the Federal Reserve wire people, whatever.
And their time, right? They're on East Coast time, so they close earlier than we do in Vegas.
Yeah, so if your recording's at 5 o'clock, you could expect your wire would come likely before 12 p.m. the following day.
Yep.
Sometimes if there's delays, it'll go up to 5 o'clock the next day.
Right.
Every now and then, the Fed will flag, on large amounts of money. Sometimes the Fed will
She's
flag
tongue-tied
them
over here today.
for quality control, compliance, or whatever. So if that happens, it's kind of random. You never know when it's going to happen.
Just a little bit of a delay.
But there'll be a slight delay on that. But in most cases, you have it the next business day.
Yeah.
If you close on a Friday, you're not going to get it till Monday. If Monday's a holiday, then you're delayed there. So that's always dependent on your closing date.
Yeah, and usually there's a little bit of wiggle room for sellers. The only time it's really a nightmare for them not to get their money instantly or that same day is when they have a concurrent sale of a house and they're buying another house and they're using those funds.
Yeah.
So that's one of the sort of tightrope walks that you have to do with the concurrent two escrows.
Yeah.
So.
I had a seller one time recently tell me he wants to sell his home for all gold bars. He's not taking cash.
He's like, no cash.
Title company does not comply with that.
They do not. They do not. So that always wigs me out a bit, right? Like when people are like, oh, I'm just selling for gold or silver or crypto or whatever. I'm like, well, in the Valley, we use money and that's
and
what
you can exchange money for whatever
that's
you
what I
want
was
to
gonna
exchange
say.
it
As soon
for.
as you get that money, you can turn it into gold, you can turn it into silver, you can turn it into crypto, whatever you want. They're just not going to do it for you.
Yeah,
They're like, here's your money.
It's like they're
Go do
under
what you want with your own money.
perception that the buyers are going to show up with their bag of gold and say, "Here, I'm going to buy." Like, I don't understand how that works, but no, it doesn't work like that. So no, you can do a check or a wire.
Now you can put things like money, like gold or cars or anything in the contract as part of the compensation.
Yes. Anything can be added as compensation.
Personal property. But as for how you're going to get your funds, that's going to be a wire or a check.
Yes, it is. And then let's go into John.
All right. John, I wanted to buy a home and use it as a short-term rental in Las Vegas. Is this a good investment?
Well, good investment, yes.
Yes.
However,
yes, it is. Buying real estate in Vegas seems to be a very good investment because we always have appreciation. Even on our slow years with those high interest rates this year, we still saw growth in our valley.
Yes.
Now, buying a house in Vegas is a good investment.
Yeah.
Using it as a short-term rental, well, there's some I's you got to dot and some T's you got to cross in order to make that happen. But one of the main things that I will say is you can't buy a home in Vegas under the assumption that you're going to use it as a short-term rental because in our valley we're a hospitality state, right?
Yeah.
So we're all about competing with those hotels, and that hospitality is a big chunk of our income here in the valley. So there's all kind of red tapes and restrictions, hoops you got to jump through. And one of those restrictions is you have to have a permit to run that, let's say, Airbnb, short-term rental, whatever you want to call it. And you can't actually get that permit prior to owning the property because the property has to be dedicated on the property address has to be dedicated on the application.
Yeah, and there's a lot of criteria that's involved in that.
Yeah, like you can't be 660 feet to another Airbnb. You can't be on a septic. It has to comply with HOA. And we got a ton of HOAs in the valley.
Yeah, and most of the HOAs have restrictions against short-term rentals. There are options for condo-tels.
Yes, which is the best option in my opinion.
Yeah, so we have a lot of condo-tels in Vegas.
Love them.
They're basically it's kind of like you can own your own little hotel room.
Not kind of like some places like Palms, it is your own little hotel room.
Yeah, so you can own this hotel room, and there's options. Some of them have options, like Palms is one of them that has an option where you can either market and rent it yourself through Airbnb platform.
Yep.
Or they have a complete service that does it for you.
Right,
They
on
do
usually the
marketing.
hotel websites.
Yeah, they do the marketing, they do the booking, they do everything. You get your P&L and your payments at the end of the month, and everything's kind of headache free. And you don't have to go through all of the hoops and hurdles of getting that license for short-term rental, because the projects, which is the condo-tels, are
Right.
already approved.
Yep.
So those are options if you're just looking for an investment property in Vegas that you can use as a vacation property, because you're also able to use, even if you're renting through the hotel, through anything, and you're using it as your rental, you just reserve the days you want to stay, and you have your spot to go to whenever you want to come.
Totally,
And-
which I love. You just block out times you're going to use it, and the rest of the time the hotel takes care of it, and housekeeping and everything is done for you. If you're not using the hotel as a service, then you do have to have your own housekeeping service come in and service the rooms and
Yeah.
do everything yourself. But
Yeah, and a lot of the hotels will offer, and some of them even require you to use their in-house housekeeping
some of them
service. You
do.
just have to pay them directly. And there's different fee structures of going through the hotel, whether going through Airbnb, and lots of stuff to review there. Pros and cons.
yeah, like one of the
it.
cons is you can't personalize it. It has to stay in the continuity of the hotel, so all of the stock photos show what the room looks like. So let's say you have a headboard that's damaged or whatever, and you're in this program, then you go through the hotel and get a new headboard that matches that hotel aesthetic.
Yeah, and also one of the, I think is a great thing. I always, and I own an Airbnb in another state, and rental properties, stuff like that. And maintenance is always a headache, right?
Maintenance is a headache.
So if you're purchasing a condo-tel and you go through the hotel for the management of it, managing this rental for you, in a lot of the projects, they handle all the maintenance for you. So something
Which is
comes up,
great.
it's part of your contract with them, and they take care of that if it's general wear and tear maintenance. If there's, an issue that's like insurance claim issue or related, then that's a different story. But a lot of them will cover the maintenance within this whole agreement that you have with them, which is like you're never bothered by anything. It's just
Right. It's just like a plug and
making-
play. It just works. You get the appreciation. They take care of everything. And it's great because we do have this hospitality and this convention community. So those rooms usually are pretty full all year round.
Yeah. And then another option, short-term rentals, while there's a lot of restrictions on those, some people are moving to the midterm rental platform.
Midterm rentals are a great option.
Yeah, so there's not really much restrictions on the midterm rental option as far as getting approval and everything like that. They don't fall under the same short-term rental guidelines.
Right.
And a midterm rental is anything 31 days or more. So each rental cycle has to be at least 31 days. You still have your HOA approval that's recommended. Most HOAs still do not allow that. Most
Right.
HOAs will do 3-month minimum cycles, again, unless you're in an approved project. So
Yep.
you have
And-
options.
Yeah, and if you're going for that midterm rental, you can connect with like insurance companies. So if people's homes got flooded and they're being redone, then they can move into these midterm rentals.
Yeah, and there's sometimes people that have to come work in the city for, temporary parts of time,
Yep.
and they don't want to go into a year lease, so midterm's an option. Sometimes when people sell their homes, sometimes
I was just
people,
going to say new construction, waiting for one home to be built after selling another one. Midterm rentals usually are a thing.
yeah, so there definitely is a market for it. Definitely
Yeah.
is something out there for everybody. So we can always discuss options with you, John, if this is something that you want to look into any further.
Yeah, but if we go back to the investment part of the question, yes.
Yeah, always a good investment.
Yes.
Real estate is always a good investment. So let's get into Lacey.
Lacey, if a buyer defaults on their contract and refuses to sign the cancellation letter to release their deposit, can I still sell my home to somebody else?
Yeah, well,
That's the answer.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. So we have to open this with, we are not attorneys. We are not giving legal advice, cannot give legal advice. If you're in a situation, we highly advise you to consult an attorney
real
about your
estate
rights
attorney.
and the legal rights and everything like that. Real estate attorney, of course. Contract attorney even.
Yeah.
However, there is one we see often where, a buyer will, and not I mean, not every day, but it happens a lot. Buyer refuses to sign the cancellation.
Right.
A lot of times because they're out of all contingencies. That earnest money deposit is due per contract to be released to the seller.
It is.
And unfortunately, the title companies need to have that cancellation signed by all parties, including the buyer that doesn't want that to happen, in order to release it in any way.
Yeah,
And
that I always have a little beef with that because it's in the
Of course.
contract. It's in the contract. The title companies are doing it to release themselves of liability.
Yeah.
But if they're going to be a third party who is just executing the contract, then they need to execute the contract and not just release the earnest money.
Yeah.
But they don't. They want to make sure they release themselves of liability, so it does need to be signed. And there is that weird limbo period, like, wow, what do I do now? I'm held up with this contract. Can I move on to another contract?
Yeah.
It
And-
happens all the time, though. People do move on to other contracts.
Yes, and but technically, what you can do to protect yourself in a situation like that, at the time that the buyer. The buyer has a contract, they're not performing, they haven't done anything, and they refuse to sign the cancellation. Well, that current contract has a contract closing date.
Right.
Okay, so if the buyer is refusing to perform, to sign anything, to do anything, yes, you can put the property back on the market, but in order to protect yourself from getting caught up in a situation, which you could.
Well, because then it all gets sticky, right? Because now there's two contracts on one property.
Yeah, and you can't have two contracts on one property.
Right.
So I always advise my clients that we wait for that contract closing date from the previous contract to pass
expire
before executing a new contract for the home, because there's always very rarely it happens, but still a chance that buyer has a contract until this date to close on that property. Even
Right.
if they're non-responsive, even if they're not closing, they can come in the last hour and close.
Yep.
And
that could be their house.
if you're already in contract with a new buyer at that time, you have an issue.
Yep.
A big issue.
a big
and
issue,
then you
because
really
you're
need an
a
attorney.
default for the other contract.
Yeah, so then you really need an attorney. So highly advise to wait until that contract date expires before entering into a new contract, just to protect yourself. And then as far as the earnest money deposit goes, and where it goes and how it goes and whatever, if the buyer is non-responsive, unfortunately, you have to go through, but it is fortunate that there is an option, and that's going through the mediation.
Right.
Our Association of Realtor has a mediation packet that you can obtain and complete, and they will call you and the buyer into mediation. I've had a case where that happened, where the buyer and the seller were called into mediation. I was representing the seller. During the mediation, buyer didn't show up. Buyer still no-showed, wasn't, just complete non-performance, wasn't
Right. planning
planning on performing anything. Title company still cannot release that earnest money deposit until there's an agreement and someone says who it needs to go to.
Right.
Well, in this current situation, buyer didn't show up, so obviously they were awarded in favor of the mediation, right?
To the seller.
To the seller, it was like, okay, well, this, it appears it would go to the seller, but still, that wasn't the end-all be-all. That's just mediation.
That's just mediation.
So the sellers had to then go to small claims court to prove to the court that they are awarded the EMD, which they did.
Because it was blatant default.
Blatant default, yes. And buyers did not show up to small claims court, even though they were summoned. Still
Yep.
no show, still nothing happened. And we had I had printed out every page of every documentation,
I was
email,
gonna say,
contract.
you were super diligent.
Yeah, it was like a stack
You had
this big.
banker boxes full of paperwork.
There was all kinds of stuff, but none of it was necessary because the judge was like, buyers to even come to tell their side of the story.
That says it all right there.
Yeah, it's awarded to you. Then they had a court order that said the EMD was awarded to them. That was submitted to title. Sellers got the EMD. So definitely a long process, and it doesn't happen
I
overnight.
was going to say, and that's pretty rare. Usually, if a seller's going to, if a buyer's going to default, we are so buyer friendly in our contracts. You are protected in so many spaces in the contract as the buyer. You have your due diligence, you have your CIC package, you have your appraisal, you have your loan contingency. So there's lots of places in that contract, should you not be able to perform, that your EMD is in fact protected, and as the buyer, you would get it back. Once all of those are expired, then it should go to the seller.
Yeah, the contracts are so flexible, I guess, towards the buyers in this
So
state. You have to
buyer-friendly.
completely just default.
Like this guy, disappear. Just
Yeah.
don't show up, don't do anything, fall off the face of the earth, and then you'll get your money.
Well, in this case, I did some stalking.
I'm so surprised.
Yeah. Well, good.
Maybe not.
Yeah, if you know me, you know that's a thing. But so I had found out that the buyers had entered into, and it was the day of the walkthrough. I mean, how crappy, right?
Yeah.
That they decided to default, but no reason. They were trying to find things wrong with the walkthrough, but there was nothing there was no issue where the seller had defaulted or not performed. There was nothing that the seller did wrong in this. They were just trying to find a way out. And I happened to be there that day that happened, and I was like, something's fishy about this whole situation.
Right.
Something doesn't seem right. So, their realtor, I looked up their realtor's transaction history, and the realtor went into a contract on a very similar home, like similar in every aspect, that happened to be just priced a little bit lower at the same day as this all happened. And I was like, I wonder who the new buyers of this property are going to be.
Just wait for that closing.
Yeah, I had to wait 30 days to find out, but as soon as it closes, the new buyer's name is logged on tax record, which is public information. And I was like, hey, that's weird. These are our buyers. And they went into contract on the new property before they canceled our contract. So they were 100% at default.
I think maybe that's why they didn't show up, because they knew that money was lost anyway. What the hell? Why are we going to fight it?
They should have released it. I mean,
they should have
was
released
the right
it.
thing
That was
to do.
that was rude, right? Why are you holding up other people?
Yeah, no, you got a house at a better price. Markets change. Sometimes things like that happen, but that doesn't mean that you don't perform on your contract. There was nothing
and
left.
Even the agent. I mean, that's the phone call I would have had.
I did.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm not going to really fault buyers and sellers. You're out here just doing something. You hire a professional to help guide you through it. And that agent should have canceled that contract, should have had that buyer sign
do the right
release.
Thing. Yeah, do the
absolutely.
right thing. Because it was a terrible, sometimes buyers are like, oh my gosh, how horrible of a seller to take a buyer's earnest money deposit. But we were at the day of the final walkthrough. Sellers are moving to another state. Packed up, U-Haul ready, everything ready to go 2 days before closing, and then the whole thing falls apart. I mean, that is an awful situation to be in.
It is an awful situation. It's unprofessional, and there's so much junk that happens in the real estate process. It is so highly emotional. That is one less thing that people should be worrying about. And you're moving on to another house. You're doing your life the way you want to do it. Great. Sign the paperwork, takes 2 seconds on a DocuSign, and then you're done with it. But just dragging it out, rude.
But the silver lining is the sellers we ended up with another buyer, closed 2 weeks. So a little bit of a delay still, but was a quick close. And they paid a higher price than the previous contract. So sellers won essentially in the end, which is great.
Yeah, good for them, because they got the earnest money bonus too.
Yeah, well, that was a lot later. It took, I think, about a year for that whole process.
Well, it doesn't matter. A year later, you still use money. I'm going to use money next year.
Yeah,
and the year after.
It was the principle of the matter. The principle of the matter was that the buyers did something that was just not the right thing to do, and the sellers were very adamant about making it right on their
making
part.
it right.
So yes, that is our show.
Well,
just go on, and if you guys are watching, like, share, subscribe.
Join us every week. We're here. Be part of our tribe.
Please send us your questions. We're running short, so we have enough to make it through the year, but
yeah, if you want, you can go to realtycheck.Vegas. That has our link tree. You can put comments there. You can get our social medias. You know how to get a hold of us. If they just want to send a call or a text, if that's easier for you, you can reach both of us by phone. You can reach Trish at 702-308-2838.
2878. 702-308-2878. That's my cell phone number. You can reach me there.
So close.
So close.
So
and
close.
Tiana, people can reach you
At 702-379-9948.
All right. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys. Well, I won't see you next week.
Nope,
Tiana.
no Trish next week.
Tiana will see
It'll
you
be
next
me.
week.
I'll
Yes.
see you guys next week. Have a good one.
All
Bye,
right.
Vegas.
Bye.